My name is Kaylee, and it's been about a year since a certain show on Netflix aired.
So basically she's talking about Graham Hancock's archaeology show, and this site here is called History with Kaylee, The Dangers of Pseudo-Archaeology, and I'm going to educate her.
And I thought I would make a video in which I'm going to explain the difference between archaeology and pseudo-archaeology.
And I'm going to explain the difference between numpties and liars.
And what the dangers of pseudo-archaeology are to our history.
And I'm going to explain the dangers of lying to us. Ignore her subscription. I certainly won't be subscribing because I don't trust mainstream, as you'll see in a few seconds when I educate you guys. Sorry if it's a bit longer.
So to explain in the very simplest of ways, pseudo-archaeology is fake archaeology. Pseudo comes from the Greek word pseuds, which means false or lying.
Yes, please tell me.
The prefix pseudo is used to mark something that superficially appears to be or behaves like one thing, but actually is something else. For example, pseudo-archaeologists like to pretend they're part of the history community, like they're archaeologists researching ancient times, but their work is mostly based off of grand claims, unsubstantiated by data, exaggeration of evidence, dramatic or romanticized conclusions, use of fallacious arguments, and at times, even the fabrication of evidence.
Okay, so this is someone that believes that people like myself are making it up. So let's have a look here. This is mainstream. Mainstream said that pre-Clovis sites in America weren't possible, traditionally before 13,000 years. However, as you see there with the different dates, this is now accepted. So what was originally pseudoscience has now become mainstream because technology moves on, knowledge moves on. So we've got one here that's just made her look snumpty, maybe? Okay, Göbekli Tepe was another one where they said no way humans could be building stuff around the time that Göbekli Tepe was supposedly built, which would have been approximately 12,000 years BC. Now, they said that can't be done because there's no way it's going to be done, and you're pseudoscience. So, turns out, mainstream now agreed that Göbekli Tepe is as old as they say. So, another tick for pseudoscience. Okay, Earth's inner core has always been a solid ball. You must know that if you went to school. However, people have been saying that they believe that it's possibly an ice core or liquid. And of course, that's pseudoscience because there's no real evidence, as she's just said. However, now, actually, this is in Popular Mechanics, which is an important site. Actually, Earth's solid core isn't all that solid. So my point is, dear lady, just because right now someone's idea doesn't have all the facts, it shouldn't be cast as, and you, let's be honest, you are trying to knock it. You're trying to say that Graham Hancock's suggestions, etc., are fake. And we've just proved, I could go on and on and on. We've just proved that 3 mainstream pseudosciences are now become true. In which case, which one's pseudoscience? Is it now the pseudoscience, but yet before it wasn't, or now? You get my point. So anyway, this is why I don't trust people like her.
You want to know how come our moon doesn't have a name, yet all the other moons in the solar system do?
I've been watching him actually recently, and he's not as smart as I thought he was. Not that I've seen much of him before, but anyway, the few things that I've seen him now recently, and he keeps making mistakes. Anyway, so yes, we do have a name, even though he goes on to talk about lunar, etc. The actual original name, the people that gave all the names to all the planets were the Anunnaki. We know that because we've got the oldest text, which predates the word lunar. And we've got 2 names for the moon. One is Kingu, and the other is Lahimu, which is Sumerian stroke Anunnaki language. So although he says Luna is the official one, if you want to go back and find out where, for example, Earth came from, it was Kai. Guess who gave us Kai? Anunnaki. So I don't know why he's coming out with that. If you want to go back to the original, which is, you should always go back to the original, and you can't go far wrong. Neil deGrasse Tyson says,
region of Peru. By the way, just a few days ago, I received an official invitation to Mexico to look at these 2 alien bodies personally. An official invitation. And I declined for a very simple reason. But I'd love to see the aliens. But if you're going to make an official invitation to a scientist, that invitation should not go to an astrophysicist.
So he spends the next 10 minutes saying that the people that have the bodies should be contacting biologists, etc. Not once did he, and I thought he was supposed to be smart, not once did he say, I asked whether there was other people coming at this invitation. Do you really think the people that had the Mexican bodies decided just to call you up and invite you for one day? No, they probably invited loads of people. Wow, 1.1 million for a Anunnaki alien shekel. And now the people that probably don't realise that the Anunnaki, which is the alien race that gave us money, and that's what it was, from Mesopotamia, which is where they were. They also gave us spells such as the Necronomicon, which is how you talk to the dead. You don't think we all suddenly made all this stuff up in the Middle East, and yet nowhere else on the planet anyone was thinking of this sort of stuff? It's because the Anunnaki taught us. They even gave us our first kingship. However, what's funny is if you read mainstream's version, it says that the first kingships were mythological because the kings reigned for 28,800 years. And of course, mainstream don't want us to know that the Anunnaki lived for a very long time. And they lived for a very long time because they slept 7 days and 7 nights here. They only lived for about 120 years on their home planet called Nibiru, or Nibru, if you want to be precise. And they lived for 120 years on their planet, but for here, if you lived here on Earth, it would be nearly 1 million years of our time. So it's quite easy for an Anunnaki to live for 20, or to be king for 28,800 years. Now, hang on. Speaking of hanging on, guess who was the first people to show us hanging? Yes, it was the Anunnaki. They did it with Anzu in written texts. Speaking of written texts, the Anunnaki can't be immortal, can they? Because of their longevity of life. Well, let's have a look here. This is translations from the actual Sumerian language. And here it says, whoever is acquired, so I'm trying to read it over the phone, is destined to be lost. What mortal has ever reached the heavens? What mortal? Now that because the Anunnaki class themselves as immortal here on Earth because they lived for a very, very long time. They were here for 450,000 years. And that's not to say that they didn't die here. Some did, as we know. We've got actual written records of it, such as Epic of Gilgamesh, etc. But look, seriously, think for a second, everybody. What first race of beings that can wrote about what mortal has ever been reached the heavens? Who would have wrote that in the very first language? I probably would never even thought of that. If my brain was, wow, I can now write and someone can read it. And bearing in mind there was probably only a handful of people that could read and write back then. And we're talking in cuneiform. So what mortal has ever reached the heavens? And do you know what the heavens is? Altogether now, space. Because, and forget the Bible, but even the Bible says in heaven we can see the sun, the stars, and the moon. In heaven we can see the sun. I can see the sun. The stars. Wow, I can see the stars. And the moon. Wow, I can see heaven. Everybody, I am the chosen one. But so can you. You can also see that. So it's basically heavens. If you read anything and you replace the word heavens with space, it just makes so much more sense. So what mortal has ever reached the heavens? See? It's the Anunnaki and their ships. Yes, it's David Minio again, Professor. However, if he was in a class with me, I would be teaching him. And I'll show you why I'll be teaching him. Watch this.
Get upset when their claims about ancient history are called pseudo-archaeology. Yeah, it starts with a P. What exactly is pseudo-archaeology? Well, the literal meaning is fake archaeology. That is something that is not archaeology, which is masquerading as archaeology.
So this is the guy that, if you remember, pretended that he debunked Zecharia Sitchin on a video. However, if you watch my videos, you see that I actually totally and utterly destroyed this man. In fact, I even emailed him, and he never replied. But anyway, yeah, so basically, do not trust what this guy says, because I have proved him wrong when it comes to Zecharia Sitchin. Now, I'm going to prove him wrong on pseudo-archaeology. So basically what he's doing here is he's knocking anyone that sort of throws out the ancient alien theory. Of course, I've proved it on my videos. If you go and watch them, you'll see that I have. Tens of thousands of people watched it. Not one person has given me evidence to say I'm wrong. So these are pseudo-archaeology and pseudoscience categories that are now mainstream. These were called pseudoscience. So when someone, I'll start with the word N and end with numpty. Oh, sorry. When someone pretends to know absolutely everything, which is what he's doing, he's saying that no matter what happens, as long as mainstream's got it right, therefore anyone else is pseudoscience. However, these subjects here are now mainstream. So what, it defies belief, doesn't it? So what we know now, in a year, in 2 years, in 10 years, will possibly become mainstream, in which case people like him are once again proven wrong, that there is such a thing as pseudoscience that turns into mainstream science. So just bear that in mind, guys, if you ever see this guy on his YouTube channel. It's called World of Antiquity. I would personally follow me because I don't lie. There's no point. I'll tell you as it is.